Get ready with me as I tell you about how I got my start in the music industry. I grew up in Los Angeles, which a lot of people think is really weird, and I guess it is, except for that's all I've ever known. I did grow up around a lot of people in the entertainment industry, but neither of my parents, nobody in my family is in entertainment. And when I was about 5 or 6 years old, my godparents bought me a karaoke machine. I would sing karaoke endlessly. In my childhood bedroom, I would sing Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and the Spice Girls. I was always singing. And ever since I was a little girl, I always said I wanted to be a pop star. There was a time where I thought I would be like Hannah Montana. I would go to school during the day and then be a pop star at night. I just thought that would be a part of my trajectory. I would be the next Hannah Montana. So then when I was about 9 or 10, I went to Catholic school very briefly. Then my family realized we're like literally not Catholic. And music is a big part of church. And so I auditioned for the school choir. And a few weeks into rehearsal, my director came up to me and asked me if my mom was picking me up from rehearsal that day. So I said, yeah. And he said, well, I would like to talk to her after rehearsal. So I'm terrified. I think that I'm getting kicked out. He ends up chatting with my mom after rehearsal and says to my mom, do you know that your daughter can sing? And my mom is like, I mean, she sings Britney Spears karaoke. And he says, no, actually, I think she has a lot of potential and I would love to train her privately and make her the featured soloist of this choir. So my mom is like, I mean, okay, why not? I started training with him privately. And then with that choir, I actually got to sing for the Pope in Rome. It was really my first experience taking music a little more seriously. For me, I was just really excited and I loved singing more than anything. And I was the soloist of this group and that felt really special to me. That's where it all kind of began. Around that same time, when I was 10, 11 years old, my parents got me a songwriting journal for Christmas and I started writing my own songs. My first song ever was called My First Hit Song. And I still remember it to this day. And I just kept writing songs. As I got older, I kept singing in choir. I decided I wanted to learn how to play guitar. I met this guitar teacher. He was just this stoner who lived near the beach. The second that I learned maybe 4 chords, I was like, great, I can play 4 chords. Therefore, I can write a song. So I really just started using my guitar lessons as a chance to record. We had a little recording setup. So I would write my songs with my 4 chords. I would take them to my guitar teacher's place and we would record them. That was really my first experience recording my songs. I remember I wrote a song for my dad called Just Like You. And it was all about how I wanted to grow up to be just like my dad. And I gave it to my dad for Christmas and he sobbed. He still cries all the time. When I left for my first tour, he sobbed. Shout out to my dad. Love you, Dad. At the time, I started to get into musical theater because that was how I could do it in school. I started going to a school around middle school where a lot of the people around me had come from families in the industry. And so they were all doing theater. So I was like, cool, I'll do theater. And at the time, there really wasn't anything I could do in school that involved songwriting. It is worth noting that I really did not get any roles when I was doing theater at school. I was really bummed about that because I wanted to do the productions at school, but I wouldn't get any roles. And if I did, I would be like the extra in the back. But I still love singing and I still love writing music. So my parents signed me up for this singing/songwriting camp over the summer. And the guy who ran that camp, his name was Mark, asked me to play him something. And that ended up being a really important relationship in my journey. He ended up really teaching me about songwriting in like a more formal capacity. And he ended up producing a couple of songs for me in high school that I released. And this was my first experience releasing music. I never actually put something out into the world. I'm like 15 years old at this point. Nothing that I want to be heard now. I don't think they're anywhere online, thankfully, hopefully. So at this point, I am getting ready to go to college. I knew I wanted to study some sort of performing in college, but there were very few schools that had popular music or songwriting or anything like that. My parents took education very seriously. So they basically insisted that I go to a school where I could do music, but also it needed to be a good university. And most of these schools had some sort of like video audition that you had to start with, and then they had a callback. USC was the only program that I applied to that had a pop music songwriting program. Everything else that I was applying to was theater. So I was also doing monologues and dances in addition to my songs. I really wanted to get into USC. I knew how competitive it was. I ended up getting into the USC pop music program. I had a really incredible experience there. I have mixed opinions about if going to school for music is worth it because I don't really think you can teach somebody how to be an artist. That has to be really authentic and it has to come from within. But that being said, I did learn so much about performing and music theory and playing playing piano. And I also met a lot of really amazing people. From that point, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew that I wanted to be an artist. I knew that I wanted to write songs. I knew that I wanted to tour. And so I picked up every little job you could think of just for money. I was nannying and babysitting. I worked as an assistant to a wedding planner. I was dog walking. I was house sitting. And at the same time, I was writing songs like crazy. And the way that I was getting sessions at that point, because I didn't have management, I didn't have anything. I would literally sit there for hours and go on social media and find songwriters based on other songs that they had written that I liked. I would just cold DM them and say, hey, I'm Morgan. I'm an artist. I would love to do a songwriting session with you. I met some really amazing people that way. So that time I also got in touch with my PRO, BMI. For those of you who don't know, PRO stands for Performance Rights Organization. Their job is to basically collect your songwriting money. What a lot of people don't know, they will set up sessions for people and they'll do fun events for songwriters to meet each other. And I was fortunate enough that one of my professors told me to reach out to them. So per the suggestion of my teacher, I reached out to a contact at BMI and I ended up getting invited to do a speed dating for songwriters event. I ended up meeting the guys from Loud Luxury and we became really, really good friends. We ended up releasing a song together. This was a really big opportunity for me because I didn't have anything at that time. And they had this song body with like a gazillion streams and it had charted and it had been this huge massive hit for them. Getting Aftertaste, getting that cut and getting featured on that song was a really big moment for me. And around this time, it's COVID times and social media is blowing up because everyone is just at home and bored. So I decided to try and kind of get on the TikTok train. And I was posting on TikTok for a while with really no success and I was getting really discouraged. And I remember two of my friends within the same week said to me, you need to get back to that girl who just sits in her bedroom and writes songs on her piano, doesn't worry about social media, talk about what you know and write a song from your heart. So at that time, I was living at my parents' house and I was sitting in their living room and I saw that hashtag not all men was trending on Twitter. And it was in response to the Me Too movement. I was just really upset about that. I just immediately was like, I need to write a song about this. So I called Alex, my producer, and I said, I'm coming into the studio. I have an idea for a song. And I said, can you play some chords? And he sat down at the guitar, played some chords, and pretty immediately, as most of my favorite songs happen, that chorus just fell out of me. I sang almost the entire chorus in the first pass, and I was like, whoa, that feels pretty powerful. So I decided to post it on TikTok, and overnight it got 1 million or 2 million views. So Alex and I finished that song within like 48 hours, and I released it. It really reminded me of why I ever got into making music in the first place, and it showed me how powerful it is to write songs about topics that really, really matter. And it gave me courage to write songs about things that are maybe a little bit difficult to talk about or a little bit polarizing. I got a lot of hate on social media from that song, but I received way more messages from women being like, thank you for writing this song. So I knew that I wanted to keep writing music with a message that mattered. It really gave me the space to come back to why I wrote music in the first place, why I ever started singing and writing songs. From there, I kept releasing songs about politics and women's rights and gay love and mental health, things that I didn't feel like I was hearing from other people. And that's not to say it's been all smooth sailing since Not All Men came out. I have certainly had more moments than I can count where I questioned myself and I wrote songs that I believed in that no one heard. But that song really started me on the trajectory that I feel like I'm on now. I also think that song introduced me to a lot of people who became fans of my music because they wanted to hear me talk about things that they found important as well. And it helped me build this community of survivors and women and allies and just beautiful, wonderful people who were unafraid to talk about important things. So it's been so cool to take that song around the world now and sing it with people and to see people get tattoos with those lyrics. It just means everything to me. And the way that that song was received really gave me the space and the confidence to keep making music like that. So that's a little bit about my story. If I have one message, it's that my trajectory has been anything but smooth. I have thought about quitting so many times. I honestly don't even really consider myself successful yet. There are so many things that I haven't achieved that I want to achieve. But if you're into music or art or you have a passion and a dream, this is just my reminder that it's not smooth sailing and you got to keep going and keep fighting for it if it means something to you. Everyone's path is different. I don't know that anyone ever feels like they've arrived. I certainly don't. So anyway, if you like these types of videos, let me know. Love you.